and by extension, the Republican Party's incursion into voting rights and basically the American people's faith in free and fair elections continues to pace. He took to his failing social media platform, I believe it was early this morning, and wrote a very long rant about mail-in voting. He is declaring war on mail-in voting, by the way. Be afraid. But this is the thing I want to flag. I'll spare you reading the entire thing because it's insane, obviously. But within the insanity, there is also the kernel of a truth, the kernel of an idea, not that Donald has because he knows nothing, but that somebody put in his head. And now it's not just that he's going after gerrymandering and voting rights and things like that. He's trying to convince people that, well, let me read the relevant passage. He's talking about how Democrats cheat because, projection. He's signing an executive order to help bring honesty to the 2026 midterm elections because, as you know, Donald is a man known for his prolific honesty. Quote, remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating votes. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them for the good of our country to do. With their horrible radical left policies like open borders, et cetera, Democrats are virtually unelectable without using this completely disproven mail-in scam, et cetera, unquote. I'm going to quote Josh Marshall, who's somebody I highly recommend you read every day. His newsletter is Talking Points Memo. I think it's essential reading. In response to this section of this insane tweet about how the states are in service to the federal government during elections and that the federal government can tell states what to do, Josh Marshall says, and I quote, and it's eloquent, this is total bullshit. Let's dive in. Total bullshit indeed. Hello, and welcome to this evening's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is wonderful to have you here with me. And just to make it very clear, states are essentially completely in control of elections. And I don't just mean elections. I don't just mean state elections. For example, representatives and senators. I mean any election that happens within that state, including national elections like the presidential election. So clearly, this is the fascist Republican Party just planting a seed to get people used to the idea that apparently there's no such thing as states' rights anymore, at least when it comes to voting. Seems kind of antithetical to the Republican position of the last at least 5 decades. But let's move on to something that's really been in the news and on my mind. Today, Donald hosted a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other European leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, in order to discuss the situation in Ukraine, which is to say, what's going on after Donald's meeting with Vladimir Putin and after Russia illegally invaded our ally. While that meeting with Putin on Friday was entirely unsuccessful for everybody in America and everybody in Ukraine, but boy, was it successful for Vladimir Putin, it seems that the one, and this should not surprise us at all, with Zelensky wasn't much better. Donald threw him almost immediately under the bus. When asked about previous comments that Zelensky could end the war if he so chooses, Donald doubled down right away, right in front of his guest. Take a look.
So, President Zelensky, you say in a post on X today, Russia must end this war, which it itself started. President Trump, you say President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to. Which is it?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
Ooh, a trilat. He's so sophisticated. All right. Well, it's actually objectively true. Russia could end the war immediately if it so chooses. Ukraine could end the war immediately if it so chooses. Okay. So chooses. All right. How? I mean, that's not just a unilat thing, right? There have to be conditions met, concessions made, presumably. Here's the thing, though. Russia, if, I don't know, somebody with a lot of power here, say the president of the United States, could end the war if the United States pressured Russia, along with EU countries, etc., to withdraw completely and return all of the territory it's stolen from Ukraine. Although, of course, they cannot return the lives they stole. That's not going to happen. So, how is it, given the fact that Donald essentially conceded everything to Putin on Friday and basically said, you can have whatever you want. So now it's up to Ukraine. The only reasonable circumstances under which Ukraine should end this war is if Russia did what I said, withdrew, gave everything back, and agreed to allow Ukraine become a part of NATO. Here's the thing, though. Donald doesn't want that. Russia certainly doesn't want that. So now, what Donald means when he says Ukraine could end the war immediately, what he means is if Ukraine would only be reasonable and give Russia everything it wants, this goes away. And I get to be Putin's favorite puppy or puppet, depending on which you prefer. Donald gave some vague statements about the end of the war, but he didn't commit to anything because he can't commit to anything because he knows who his boss is. And trust me, his leash got pulled really hard on Friday. So how can you commit to any action that is in the best interest of your alleged ally, Ukraine, when you are completely beholden to Putin? He doesn't respect you at all. And because you were so catastrophically stupid, inept, and unknowledgeable, you've squandered any power you had to end this war in the first place. Take a look.
Look, the war is going to end. When it ends, I can't tell you, but the war is going to end, and this gentleman wants it to end, and Vladimir Putin wants it to end. I think the whole world is tired of it, and we're going to get it ended. It was, I've done 6 wars. I've ended 6 wars, and I thought this maybe would be the easiest one, and it's not the easiest one. It's a tough one.
Okay, he hasn't ended 6 wars. He keeps taking credit for things that have been in the works for a very long time and for which probably the Biden administration did most of the heavy lifting. But when he says, I don't know when it's going to end, everybody's tired of it. Are we tired of the war in Ukraine? Is that how we define how we're feeling about it? We're just tired of it. So sick of it. Oh my, it's so boring. No, we're horrified by it. And apparently there were enough people in this country who actually believed Donald when he said he used to know when that war was going to end. That war was going to end on day one, not of his administration. day one of the transition, which is to say the day after the election, November 2024, somehow magically, illegally, and extra constitutionally, Donald Trump was going to end that war. And now he doesn't even know when it's going to end, and he can't end it because he ceded everything to Vladimir Putin. And now he has the audacity to put the ball in Volodymyr Zelensky's court. Also, Putin doesn't want the war to end. I mean, the war has been great for Vladimir Putin. It has, especially with thanks to Donald, it has made him seem like a legitimate player on the world stage. And especially meeting with him on American soil, burnish his reputation as somebody who is a brilliant manipulator of the President of the United States of America. Since the meeting between Donald and Putin, Russia has bombarded Ukraine with attacks, killing 14 more people just hours after Zelensky arrived in the U.S. to speak to Donald. Putin is invested in continuing this war. Why? Well, because he's getting away with it, first of all, and he knows the longer he continues it, the less likely the United States is going to continue supporting Ukraine with money and weapons. The more likely then it is that Putin and Russia will gain more, which is to say, steal more Ukrainian territory. Donald and Zelensky ended the meeting on the note that the three of them hope to meet, and with Zelensky saying there needed to be a unilateral prisoner release in order to end the war. Putin has not agreed to that meeting and there's literally no reason to expect he will not continue the attacks on Ukrainian soil. I think it is worth mentioning, because let's be honest here, that if the Biden administration had done more at the very beginning to help Ukraine, if the Biden administration had understood in a more comprehensive way the threat Russia poses not just to Ukraine, but to the rest of Europe, and indeed the future of the Western Democratic Alliance, we wouldn't be here. If the Biden administration had had the imagination to game out what might happen if Biden lost the election and Donald won, we wouldn't be here. So while Donald met with Zelensky, he, of course, went off course to discuss his plans to continue gutting our democracy and destroying our ability to have free and fair elections, as I said at the beginning of the show. Today, he decided to wrap up his attack on voting rights, declaring his intent to get rid of mail-in voting, as well as voting machines. So the question, then how are we voting? Are they going to send everybody a piece of paper and a pencil and a sassy? That's self-addressed stamped envelope for those of you who didn't watch Zoom as children. During the press conference, Donald said, well, he told the truth, which I know doesn't happen very often. So when it does happen, we should probably pay attention. Check it out.
Where some people get 5, 6, 7 ballots delivered to them. Now we got to stop mail-in voting, and the Republicans have to lead the charge. The Democrats want it because they have horrible policy. If you have mail-in voting, you're not going to have many Democrats get elected. That's bigger than anything having to do with redistricting, believe me. And the Republicans have to get smart. We're not going to have a country. I said for a long time at rallies, you need borders and you need free and fair elections.
Free and fair elections. Yeah, free and fair elections, says the man who just admitted that he wants to do away with any kind of voting that favors Democrats. Also, by the way, I don't think that's definitive. I don't think mail-in voting exclusively favors Democrats. It favors some demographics that typically vote Republican. But that's really not the point. He's basically laying it out there. He wants to do away with any form of voting that he believes favors Democrats, and he is urging the Republican Party to get on it so that they can more easily steal the 2026 midterms. It's that simple. There is literally no other way to interpret what is going on here, to interpret his urging red states to gerrymander districts in advance of the 2026 election in order to create more districts that are favorable to Republicans, thereby adding seats that Republicans don't now have. There is no other way to interpret Donald saying that he wants a census now, 5 years in advance of when the Constitution requires one. And not only does he want the census now, he wants a census only to include American citizens, which is not how any of this is supposed to work. There is no other way to interpret what Donald is saying about the federal government versus the state government vis-a-vis how elections are run. He is softening the ground for people to begin to accept whatever he has to say, no matter how wrong, how unconstitutional it is when it comes to voting. He is making sure that he makes it easier for people not to trust the results of free and fair elections if he and Republicans don't win. They are blatantly and inarguably and uncontestably trying well in advance to steal our elections from us. So while all of these attacks are continuing and quite frankly increasing and broadening in their scope, Dominion Voting Systems was just handed a victory against right-wing extremists who claimed the 2020 election was rigged. This is, of course, right after Vladimir Putin, I guess, assuaged Donald's ego by claiming to believe that the 2020 election was stolen from him. Dominion is the same voting technology company that received a $787 million settlement from Fox News over its election coverage. The trial for their case against Newsmax was scheduled to begin in October, but instead, Newsmax will pay $67 million to settle the lawsuit for airing those false claims. Despite Donald's peddling lies about our election systems, the courts have agreed time and time again our way of voting is secure. Our elections are free and fair. And those who say otherwise are engaging in defamation against those whom they claim are somehow cheating. And all of this, of course, while it is so obvious, the only cheating being done is by those on the right. While Donald tries to destroy voting rights with a not inconsiderable help with the egregious Supreme Court Justice John Roberts, the redistricting war is continuing. Texas Democrats have finally returned to Texas, and Governor Greg Abbott, fascist of Texas, and his fellow Republicans are planning to move as quickly as possible to try to redraw the Texas maps. Take a look at CBS's coverage of this.
The Texas State House of Representatives could vote as early as this week on the state's controversial redistricting plan. The second special session called by Governor Greg Abbott officially began today after Democrats ended their boycott, returned to the Lone Star State. Now, the Democrats agreed to come back after the first session ended without a vote and after California unveiled its own plan to redraw that state's congressional maps.
Nancy, Democrats are saying that this is an achievement for them, despite the fact that they are going back to Texas and they will eventually have to vote on these Republican maps for the state of Texas. But their goal initially was to, one, bring national attention to this matter, get people's eyes on what was going on in Texas, and two, they said they wanted to get other blue states to join the fight and retaliate against what Texas was doing and neutralize the gains that Texas could potentially gain come 2026. And they achieved that with California effectively rolling out their redistricting efforts.
Democrats, now is your time. especially in blue states, large blue states with Democratic governors. California Democrats understand what's at stake here. I believe the same is true in Illinois and New York. While Republicans fight to add seats, Republican seats to the House of Representatives, California Democrats seem willing to do the same. The Republicans are not going to stop. So let us please stop pretending otherwise. There is no limit to what these people won't do to stay in power. There is no law they won't break. There is no constitutional amendment they won't contravene. It is time for us to stop pretending otherwise. California Democrats unveiled a new map on Friday, and now state lawmakers in both houses will hold hearings on the map and vote to put it to the voters at a special election in November. If voters agree, the new map would take effect, but only if Texas or another Republican-led state moves forward with its own mid-decade redistricting and would remain through the 2030 elections. Okay, fair is fair. If the Republicans back off, then the Democrats should too. Because this is the way to look at this. A lot of people are queasy about Democrats engaging in anti-democratic activities to counter the Republicans' onslaught, right? I understand that. Here's the thing, though. If Republicans continue their power grab and Democrats in blue states say, you know what, we still have to play by the rules anyway, we are going to lose our democracy. It is that simple. So when they go low, we go low. When they get in the mud, we get in the mud. With its difference, we understand that we are doing this not just to stop them, but to strengthen our democracy going forward. It's that simple. So hopefully other blue states will wake up to this reality. And I know there's been a lot of talk that there are independent, Democratic states believe in democracy. So, of course, in order to prevent the kind of thing that's happening in Texas, they set up independent commissions to prevent the kind of egregious gerrymandering that Texas is engaging in and that other red states are going to engage in. It's time to disband those commissions, please. While Republicans try to distract with the redistricting, there is yet another battle on the horizon because this is all they seem to be good at, because they just cannot stop the Epstein scandal from taking hold. The New York Times reported today that Republicans are now facing a lot of pushback in their home districts. Many unhappy constituents are making their feelings known as the September deadline for Congress to return to session nears. They report that Republicans are seeing the writing on the wall. The Epstein issue will only get worse for them when they return from the summer recess. Democrats, with the help of some Republicans, have laid a series of procedural traps that will make it all but impossible for Republicans in the House of Representatives to avoid confronting the Epstein issue again when they get back into session in September. Republicans like Thomas Massie, along with a large number of Democrats, have indicated that they plan to put pressure back on Congress when everybody returns. Again, as it should be. Why? Why should we be interested in the horrific crimes committed by a man who is now dead and his co-conspirator, fellow sex trafficker of girls and young women, and probably rapist herself, allegedly, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is in prison for basically the rest of her life? Why do we care about this? Well, I care about it because according to Donald's own FBI, his name appears in those files several times, and they have hidden that from us. So, if there's not a problem there, release the files. But other people care about this for other reasons, and that is why this issue is not going away. Those other people constitute Donald's base. Why do they care? Why do they care about a dead sex trafficker of girls and young women? They don't seem to care much about the well-being of young women. They don't seem to care much about the horrific things done to girls and young women by people like Jeffrey Epstein. But they were promised something, and they were promised it by Donald Trump. He promised them, as part of his campaign in 2024, to release the Epstein files. Why? Because he wanted accountability for Epstein and Maxwell's victims? No, he couldn't care less about them either. He told them, he lied to them and said that the people implicated in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes were at the upper echelons of the Democratic Party. Guess what? Now he doesn't want to release the files. So that's why this isn't going away, and that's why we're not letting it. It's Monday. I know, I have to remind myself. Yesterday was Sunday, and I thought it was Friday. It's a very confusing time we're living in. All the more reason, of course, then, well, to breathe. I forgot to breathe. I don't think I've breathed. I've taken a breath this entire show. So I'm going to breathe right now. Please breathe along with me, or breathe at your own pace. You should always breathe at your own pace, quite frankly. Unless you're doing box breathing. It's a different issue. Okay. Thankfully, we have reached today's emotional support moment. I didn't know this was a thing that could happen, quite frankly. Skateboarding, nothing. I had a skateboard once. One of my aunts got me a skateboard. I don't know how old I think I was 11. It was basically bigger than I was. And it was like a surfboard, kind of, with wheels. It was really wide, it was really long, and it was stiff. It had no flexibility whatsoever. The apartment building I grew up in was at the top of a hill. And behind the building, so the front of the building was at the highest point of the hill. And the building was basically built on a slant. And the parking lot sloped down. And our street went all the way down to Hillside Avenue. So the parking lot was very slanted. So I walked down the ramp from the back door. I put down the skateboard. I stood on it. I pushed off. And I went down the hill. Completely out of control. And yes, I crashed into the fence at the back of the parking lot. And I don't know why I didn't die. Or at least break something. So ever since then, skateboards, not really my thing. But, and this is the cool part. This is the part where I stopped talking about what an idiot I was when I was 11. Sorry. If you knew my aunt, you would probably think, wow, she planned that. Anyway, Brooke Johnson has made history as the first woman to skateboard across the country. I mean, I couldn't even skateboard to the end. I actually did skateboard to the end of my parking lot, but that's just because I couldn't stop. Because the hill was very steep. But she actually did this on purpose. She's 29 years old, and she kicked off her journey on the West Coast. This was back in April. And in 119 days, she skateboarded 3,266 miles at Virginia Beach on Friday, which is just amazing to me. Here's more from ABC.
Right now, let's do it. For the last 119 days, 29-year-old Brooke Johnson has hit the road, crossing America state by state on a skateboard.
So sorry, guys. Pardon us.
On a mission to raise money for spinal cord research in memory of her late stepfather who suffered a spinal cord injury.
Look at this pavement.
Brooke started out in Venice Beach, California.
Hey, we're skating across America.
Then skating at night in Arizona to beat the daytime heat. passing a horse and buggy in Amish country,
I wish I had a horse right now. This is awesome.
traveling over 3,000 miles, all on that skateboard. Ending her journey nearly 4 months later in Virginia Beach. Wearing this necklace with her stepfather's ashes at the finish line.
We did it, Raj.
She raised over $50,000 for Wings for Life. And Brooke walking away with something too, becoming the first woman to skateboard across America.
You can do anything. You're going to hit a lot of walls. It's going to be really difficult, but you can do anything you put your mind to.
I have to be honest with you. I can think of few things I'd rather do less, except maybe play ultimate frisbee across the United States. But that's awesome. That is awesome. So congratulations on that extraordinary accomplishment. And, you know, what a beautiful way to honor her stepdad. All right. We are jumping in. Questions, comments, etc. Stephanie is a new member. Thank you so much, Stephanie, and welcome. It's lovely to have you here. Greg, thank you as always. Question: why was Donald's delegation upset leaving the meeting? Good question. Now, obviously, I don't know, but I can speculate. So for those of you who aren't sure what we're talking about, there were witnesses who saw Donald's team, which included Steve Witkoff and Caroline Levitt, who, because remember, Donald met with Putin. They were supposed to have lunch. They were supposed to have another meeting. After the first meeting, everything else was canceled. And according, I think it was Jonathan Lemire, but I'm not positive, but to a reporter who was on the scene, he said that Donald's staffers looked like they were deers caught in the headlights. Their eyes, he said, looked ashen. Something went terribly wrong, other than the obvious stuff, in that meeting. What could it possibly be? Well, I mean, I think we know enough to think to understand that it's reasonable that Donald did not present himself well, understatement of the millennium, did not get any concessions from Putin, and was, quite frankly, probably groveling and sycophantic. And perhaps, you know, just made it obvious to anybody with eyes who is not willing to delude themselves constantly that he is completely beholden to Vladimir Putin and will do whatever Putin says. I mean, that would be my guess. You know, unless there was some other kind of quid pro quo, hopefully we're going to find out about someday. Don't know. Also, anybody who is expecting anything good to come out of that meeting for America or Ukraine hasn't been paying attention. Jimmy, my goodness, Jimmy. Thank you. Truly. Comment. Thanks as always, Mary and team. Mary, quote, few are the choices we are given. The sands of time pass quickly by, unquote, the Carpenters. Yes, indeed. I love the Carpenters. Actually, I love Karen Carpenter. If you guys, so first of all, thank you again, Jimmy, for that, for your kindness, but also for that quote and for reminding me about Karen Carpenter. For those of you who haven't seen it, there is an actually quite wonderful documentary. It's hard, trust me, it is hard to watch. Very hard to watch. But you know, she's one of those people I grew up with, right? She was very much a part of the soundtrack of my childhood. And to see the ways other people, in their own rights, extraordinarily talented musicians, spoke about her, how deeply they loved her and how much they admired her. I think it was Carney Wilson who said that Karen Carpenter had the most beautiful, most pure voice that ever existed. And I can't say I disagree. So check that out if you haven't. Minor Cheryl, thank you so very much. As always, gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Fabulous. Blue Lady gifted 1 Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you as well. That is awesome. In the middle of nowhere. My word. Thank you. You guys sometimes just blow me away and render me practically speechless. Okay. Comment. Loved your video about the arts. Thank you. That me as many of you know, the arts mean almost everything to me. So that means a lot to me. My daughter and son-in-law are both music teachers. My daughter even performed in Carnegie Hall this year. Yes, I made her practice. Good. It paid off. I'm grateful to the teachers who inspired them and proud to see them inspiring others. That's amazing. For those of you who don't know, this is an old joke. Somebody's in New York City and stops a New Yorker to ask directions. Says, "How do you get to Carnegie Hall?" The New Yorker says, "Practice, practice, practice." Yes, indeed. Yeah, and listen, anybody who's a music teacher is good in my books because that is so important. If only we valued the arts in this country as much as we should. Music and art should be as compulsory in schools as English, history, science, and math. It'd be so nice if we started getting something right, wouldn't it? My Cheryl, thank you so much again. Oh, cool. There's a kitten adoption event on Saturday. Donation towards possible new kitten for Mary. If not, then maybe towards a new cat tree or toys or something. Well, thank you. You know, as you all, some of you know, I've been traveling like a maniac. And unfortunately, that is not the best time to get the Mary Trump travel kitten because I feel like I should be home and stable before travel kitten becomes a travel kitten, right? Plus also acclimating the new kitten to the rest of the tribe and making sure everybody's comfortable. That takes time, and that requires being in one place for more than 5 minutes. So thank you much, Cheryl. I will keep you posted on when indeed the Mary Trump Media travel kit becomes a reality. But in the meantime, thank you so much for continuing to have those adoption events. It's so important. And, you know, don't forget, guys, adult cats really need homes too. And older animals make amazing pets. And, you know, they've often lived their lives in difficult circumstances for a long time. So never discount adopting an older pet because they are awesome. And also, if you are going to get a cat, try to get a black one because people are idiots and have stupid superstitions about black cats. And black cats are the least likely kind of cat to get adopted. So an older black cat. Perfect. Kelly gifted 5 Marriage on Media memberships. Kelly, thank you so much. That is fantastic. Much, much appreciated. Donna, seriously, I don't know what to say except that is so incredible. Like I lost control of my hands for a second. Appreciated more than I could possibly say. Comment. Hi, Mary. I received messages that my delivery services will no longer deliver to the side door of my house, small town, for the protection of the delivery personnel. For the protection of the delivery personnel afraid of being iced. No one should be afraid of living their life, working their job. So done. Sad. Yeah, sad. Infuriating. Certainly. Yeah, this is America now. You can get arrested simply for being on the job if you're the wrong kind of person. So, Donna, thank you for alerting us to that. Also, again, thank you for your most generous and kind gift. Eileen, thank you very, very much. Oh, awesome. Comment in honor of the kitten adoption event. Excellent. Spencer, thank you so very, very much. Question. Is it just me, or does Jeanine Pirro remind you of a less entertaining caricature of Joan Rivers? Love Joan, bless her. No, because I actually think Joan Rivers was awesome, and I don't think there's anything remotely awesome about Jeanine Pirro. I mean, maybe it's like the accent. and well, you may not be wrong. Caricature and not funny, important reminders. But yeah, there's something kind of, Joan Rivers was very brash and in your face, and so is Janine Pirro. Like, kind of like, don't care what other people think sort of thing. But Joan Rivers was in a class by herself. Suki56, thank you so very, very much as always. Comment, hey, Mary. Hey. Sexual predators are supposed to check in with the police department to be entered into the sexual database. Donald is not in DC's, New York, or Florida just saying, yeah, well, that's because his trial was a civil one, not a criminal one. So he is not a convicted rapist. He is an adjudicated rapist. Welcome to America's justice system. Yeah, it's infuriating, but still a rapist. 74 million people didn't care. I am willing to concede that maybe a lot of them didn't even know about it because of where they get their news. Dorothy, thank you very much as always. Comment, fabulous mods and staff. Yes. The most fabulous mods and staff and team. Without question. And it's getting better all the time. Hey, Jules plays Tops for Vets. Hello. It's good to see you the other day. Thank you so very, very much for that. Comment, he knows exactly how to disenfranchise people from voting, the poor, disabled, elderly, and people of color. Ukraine, he'll help them for the Nobel Peace Prize only because there has to be something for him. Yeah, but because he's such a stupid idiot, he doesn't understand that you don't get a peace prize, a Nobel Peace Prize, simply by ending a war. You have to end it in a particular way. Ending the war by saying, here, Russia, steal the country from the Ukrainian people, that is not going to get you a peace prize. In fact, well, we don't even want to go down that slippery slope. Brother Jerry, thank you very much. Comment, you're by far the best Trump. Love from Texas. Well, thank you, and good luck down there. Jeez, that state of yours. And I do appreciate that, but there's actually another Trump who's better. But most of them, with the exception of, quite frankly, I'm going to leave it at that. But thank you, Brother Jerry. It's very kind of you. Susan, thank you as always. Seriously. Comment, thank you, Mary Jo Media, for keeping the spotlight on the Epstein files cover up. Oh, yes, we will never waver in our commitment to that. Ever. That is vitally important that we stay on that. Wanda, super sticker. Wow, Wanda, that's awesome. Thank you very much. Wendy Jean. Okay. I am running out of words to describe how much all of this means to us. Comment, thank you for speaking in the arts. I'm an artist and many family and friends too. Yeah, I've said it before. I think we had a video. I'd made a video that I think dropped earlier today. The arts are everything. They are the point of us. We must protect them. We must support artists. The federal government has basically opted out of funding the arts at this point. So please check out that video. I think you'll enjoy it. And this is something else we will never drop. We will never, ever stop talking about the importance of the arts. We'll never stop supporting them. We actually have really cool things coming that will spotlight the arts in a more specific way. So stay tuned for that. And thank you again, Wendy Jean. And again, she's back. Thank you, Wendy Jean. Comment, Putin was a double and did then double. I'm sorry, I don't get it. But that's okay. I don't need to. Putin was a double. I don't know. I mean, he looked maybe, but I don't think so because only the real Putin can make Donald look like somebody is literally pulling his strings. You know. So, and quite frankly, I don't think Putin would miss that opportunity. He reminds me of my grandfather a little bit. There's nothing my grandfather liked more, other than money, of course, than humiliating people. And I think Putin shares that as well. So does Donald. But here's the thing. It's really easy to humiliate Donald. And Putin is quite good at it. So at least he's good for something. But he's also a mass murderer. Should be in the Hague. Whoops. Okay, I need to breathe again. All right. Thank you to everybody watching on YouTube, streaming on Twitter, and on our Substack, The Good in Us. To all of our new members, to everybody gifting new memberships, to our super stickers, and everybody giving us donations. Seriously. Just amazing. You guys help us not just keep the lights on, which is important, but, stay in this every day and remain committed to doing whatever we can, to play whatever small part we can to help this country get back on track and finally, once and for all, create the kind of democracy we aspire to be. And it isn't always easy. So having a supportive community that understands means the world to all of us here. Thanks, of course, again to our moderators who really, really are just so good at what they do. And trust me when I tell you, it is often a thankless job. But if you love this community, you have our moderators to thank. So please do thank them. And of course, to my aforementioned amazing team that just constantly knocks it out of the park and is always getting better, even though I didn't think that was possible. You guys rock. And it's all good. All right. That does it for us. I will be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern for Mary Trump Live. Remember, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, Mary Trump Live. We have videos dropping every day, so please check them out because it will help us tremendously with the YouTube algorithm, which currently seems upset with us, and I don't know why. But watch, like, share, and comment on our videos. That'll help us out a lot. And the easiest thing to do, of course, is just subscribe to our channel. We're really shooting for 500,000 subscribers. The sooner that happens, the better. And what else did I want to say? I don't know. So let's stop here. Thank you again for everything. And I will see you all tomorrow. In the meantime, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.